Welcome to the Midnight Bible Study. Thank you for showing up. Glad you're with us tonight. I have a good one for you tonight. The message tonight is one of the most important messages in the Bible, and it's this. You're not as strong as you think you are, but you can be a lot stronger because you are weaker. Here's where this comes from. The story, everybody knows the story of David and Goliath in the Bible. He was a shepherd boy. He was just a little kid. He goes over to bring supplies to his brothers, and he sees this shocking scene where you've got Goliath out there in the field of battle mocking the Israelites, and nobody will go out there and fight him because he's like an 8-foot tall, massive, just indomitable warrior. He's an absolute killer, and nobody wants to go out there because he's so massively powerful that they wouldn't have a chance, and they knew it. And so he's mocking and laughing at them, saying, "Give me your best man," and nobody will dare go out there. And so David's this little shepherd boy. He's there to bring some supplies. He's not even trained as a soldier. He's a little kid. And but he's shocked by what he sees. So he goes to the king and he says, "Look, let me go out there." And the king laughs at him and says no. But finally David convinces him to let him go. And so he goes out there, and all the Midianites, they all laugh at him. They laugh at because it's a joke. This little kid is going up against this giant. And so, but David goes out there and he says, "You come at me with a sword and with a spear, but I come at you in the name of the Lord of hosts." And then he whips around with his slingshot, and he lets that rock go, and it hits Goliath right in the only spot where he could hit him and kill him. And he just kills him with a one shot with that slingshot. Now, how did that happen? Well, notice what he did. David, before he threw that slingshot, he said what he said. He said, "You come at me with a sword and with a spear, but I come at you in the name of the Lord of hosts." So he quoted and brought up the name of the Lord of hosts. He gave God the glory and really invoked God's power by bringing up his name. He spoke the word of God, the name of God. And when the name of God is spoken, the power of God is present. And that's when it's time to act. And that's when he flung that slingshot. And it happens he was pretty good with a slingshot. And God helped him with a fatal shot. And ultimately, David did not rely on his own powers. He was perhaps Israel's greatest warrior, but he did not do it for his own glory or through his own power. He relied on the power of God and gave God the glory. Let me just give you one example of David and how he focused on God and what his mindset was like. Now, David was the author of the Psalms. I'm going to just read a little passage here from Psalms 1:1-3. "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the paths of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night." That's where David gets his power. In his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted. He shall be like a tree planted by rivers of water, that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. So why does he prosper? But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and he shall meditate in it day and night. Day and night. Keep that law in his mind and in his heart. Now, another example of this principle that you're not as strong as you think you are, but in your weakness you are actually stronger. Because as Jesus said, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. My strength is made perfect in your weakness. Now, Gideon was another hero of the Old Testament. Gideon was he was the leader of the weakest tribe of Israel, the weakest tribe. And God came and said, "Mighty warrior, what are you doing down in the cellar? I want you to go out and save the nation of Israel from the Midianites." And he said, "No, not me. Not me. God, I'm the weakest. I have the smallest tribe. I'm the weakest." And he's cowering away. And God said, "No, I will make you strong. I will give you the victory." And so I won't go into the whole story, but Gideon tested him, and finally was convinced that God was serious, and this was really God and not just some fancy that he was having. And he did that, of course, through the fleece. The fleece. But anyway, finally Midian shows up ready to do battle, and he's got 32,000 men, the smallest tribe of Israel. And God says to Gideon, "No, this isn't going to work. You've got 32,000. That's way too many. If you keep in mind, he was going up against a massive army, but 32,000 was still small. But nevertheless, God says that's too many. If you win this battle with 32,000, then the nation of Israel will claim the glory, saying it's our strength. Our strength is how we won this battle." And then God knows that he'll run into more arrogance and disobedience and all the things which brought debauchery on most of the kings of Israel. And so he says, "All right, everyone who is afraid, go home." And so like 22,000 left. And then there was like 10,000 left. And then he goes, "All right." So he gave them another test, and he had them drink from the river. And depending on how they drank, they could go home. He would send them home, and the ones who drank it another way, he would have them stay. And now he's down to 300. And then God says, "All right, now that will work. With 300, you're ready to go to battle." 300 against a massive army of these Midianites. And it's like a suicide. It's like a suicide, if you are thinking of it in earthly, worldly terms. A lot of incompetent generals think that winning a battle is just about the numbers game, and sometimes it is. But a lot of times strategy can be a smaller army can win through an excellent strategy. So he has 300 here, and then God tells him, "All right, here's what you're going to do. Every man's going to have a horn, and every man's going to, it's dark, it's night, every man's going to carry a torch." And they go and they surround the camp, and they've got these torches, and they all blow their horns. And this massive army is all woken up, and they all panic. And they're all slaughtering each other in their panic. They're fighting each other, and they destroy each other. And then it becomes a rout, and the 300 pursue this massive army in retreat and rout them. And how did they do it? They did it in weakness. Now, they perhaps could have done it with more, but God also didn't need them. Working with God, they didn't need more. They got it done with 300, but he also did it to keep them humble. And so the glory would be where it should be. So there you go. You're weaker. You're not as strong as you think you are, which doesn't mean you're not strong. You may be very strong, but one man going up against an army is not as strong as he thinks he is. And but with God, we're much stronger than we need to be. We're a lot stronger than we are. God bless you, and thank you for visiting the Midnight Bible Study. Good night.